Welcome to the Right Club podcast, where the focus is on helping you, the real estate investor, advance to the next level. And now let's join this week's hosts and share ways for you to customize your life.
Yeah, well, you were talking about integrity, about honoring that, and you're right. If the deal, you do everything you can and it doesn't work, then you walk away from it. Or you just because there's always going to be something else, right?
Yes.
Especially when you're starting out, I think that new investors fall into the trap of emotion, and it's like, I got to do this, or this is a beautiful house, and I can see myself living there, and it's whoa, wait a minute. No, perhaps if this is a beautiful house that you can see yourself living there, maybe that's the house you should buy and live in yourself. But right? Like when you're starting out, how do you learn those things? Because you talked about negotiating, because those are critical skills for everyone. And of course, the bigger you get, the more negotiating you have to do. But even when you're starting out, you have to negotiate. So how do you negotiate? What would you tell someone about negotiating, like how to learn negotiation skills?
Yeah, good question. So I would say one of the things that you need to do first before you go into a negotiation is get a clear understanding of the business case for yourself. So what do I mean by that? I mean, the numbers are the numbers. And so when you're going into a negotiation, you need to know, what is your walk away place, and you need to remember, and I fell into this at first too. You talked about being a beginning investor and getting emotional. Like you get into it and like you want to win, and there's something about winning it, but you could win a deal and then ultimately lose in the end because you fought too hard to get something that didn't economically work. And so what I'm trying to say is that before you go into negotiations, you really need to do your due diligence on understanding the business case for whatever strategy you are doing, to make sure hey, this is my walk away number. If I get this, it's good. If I get this, it's good. But this is the place where I need to walk away, and it's okay because the next deal is around the corner. And I can tell you, I used to get frustrated when I'd lose a deal. But what I've learned in my time is that, man, there's tons of deals and the next one is right around the corner. And I've taken on deals, that hindsight would have said, man, I could have passed because around the corner was a better deal. So be sure, especially when you're starting, say no more than you say yes, and be really sure about what your walk away and your business case is before you go into that negotiation.
Oh, I think that's hard. That's probably one of the hardest things, what you said just now. Say no more than you say yes, especially for a real estate investor, because often real estate investors are getting into it because they want to get out of something else, right? Just like you were?
Yes, so. you got it. You're hungry. You want to get it. You want to do it, right? You got no deal. What are you doing? You got to work, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't care whether you're a new investor or a more experienced one. That's hard. It's hard to walk away from something that maybe looks okay on the surface.
Shiny objects are everywhere. But be aware, they may not appear to be what they seem to be, right? So it's interesting. Our due diligence process over the years has modified so much. And to go back to that, say no more than you say yes. We are very selective about the projects that we take on now. The first one is a very deep due diligence analysis from a financial perspective. And if we don't hit a certain target, we've learned that it's not worth our staff and our time to do it. And the second one is we actually have, outside of the the financial feasibility, we have a social return filter and due diligence process. So we actually look at every deal, through the financial lens, which is, hey, the van is not leaving the driveway unless it hits that number. And that number has to have contingencies within it. And it also has to have what we would call deal insulation. So deal insulation for us is like a shield and a protection, which is beyond the numbers work, beyond the contingency budget, because anybody who's done a deal knows you spend, at least some, if not all of your contingency budget. It just happens. That's why it's there. Then you have your deal shield insulation. And that's the other layer where we would say, we stress test the deals to say, hey, if the market shifts, what happens? If, best case scenario, okay, yes. Worst case scenario, yes. And most likely case scenario. And we stress test our cost per square foot of construction. We stress test the cost per linear foot of lot. If it's that project, we stress test all of the different economic drivers just to be sure, that those numbers are correct. Anyway, so that's filter A, and filter B is the social return that we've developed. And this social return, we ask, hey, how many tax dollars are we going to generate for the local community? Hey, what sort of community benefit are we having? C, how are we integrating into the local fabric of the existing neighborhood? Another thing, like, what way can we contribute to the attainable or affordable housing of this community? Can we make this community walkable? Can we make this community bikeable? We draw a circumference and we say, what's within 5-minute walking distance, 10-minute walking distance, 10-minute bike ride, 5-minute bike ride. And the other thing that we do is a carbon emission reduction strategy. So we ask, how, guys, listen, global warming is a massive issue. Guess what the two biggest culprits are? Car trips and construction. So we got to build houses, right? We're in a massive housing shortage. And so we look at how can we reduce car trips by making our developments walkable, bikeable. We do car share. So we do electric Tesla 3 car share in all our communities now, electric scooter, electric bike share. Not everybody's going to do it, but there's the option if people want to. And then as we're building, we look at how can we reduce carbon emissions. So we just became a net zero certified builder. We have our first net zero ready building being constructed as we speak, which we're super excited about. Anyways, I'm going on a rant. I'm going to come back to my filter, but social, I'll be okay. Carbon emission reduction. And we also look, how many trees can we plant on the site? How much landscape, can we do? So beautification and landscape in every one of our developments. How many trees are we going to plant to help, absorb carbons? That's another thing that we do. So we've created this refined filter. And so if we hit economic filter, if we hit social return filter, now, the truck rolls out of the van and we do the project. And I give you that as an example to tell you that as a new investor, you really want to read, like I said, you really want to ask mentors, and you want to document a logical due diligence process that's not only done by you, but, there's things that I miss that I need, Spencer on my team to look at. And I need Dylan, my financial controller, to be a second set of eyes to vet this budget and look, right? You need to have, it says counsel, wisdom is in the, counsel of many, right? So hone that due diligence process. Don't neglect really developing that as much as possible.
Thanks for listening to the Right Club podcast, where the focus is on helping all levels of real estate investors advance to the next level and help you customize your life. Be sure to tune in next week at rightclub.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you get a few seconds, please rate the podcast wherever you're listening. It helps the show get noticed by others like you, and we truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe.